Uh, okay, so I realized the last time I tried to do this was with Cameron. That's messing me up a little bit. Except ours was like scripted. We was actually gonna like do a whole thing with it. Man, how time goes by. I might actually show that later on up in here. But I'm about to talk about wrestling for a little bit. So this is just gonna be like just off the cuff. We're talking about wrestling. It's gonna be me and my roommate. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's gonna chime in whenever he feels like it. But I'm gonna go ahead and start this off real quick by basically saying I am super mega ridiculously excited for Worlds Collide. And let me explain to you why I'm excited about Worlds Collide, okay? I have been a fan of Lucha Libre probably about as long as I've been a fan of wrestling. Like and since then, I've been just like I followed Negro Casas, I followed Perrito, I followed Perrito versus Sin Cara. I followed Mystico de Juarez, and I followed that whole little thing. I heard about Phoenix before he came to America because I watched him when he was in I watched him in AAA on an episode of it was a AAA Fusion, which was like their velocity, where they would have like showcase a whole bunch of wrestlers. So it was Penta, uh, it was Phoenix, it was Jalistico, and there was another wrestler I forgot his name, but it was an Arhenis, who is like who is another one of Sin Cara's brothers because he got like about five of them. If I'm not mistaken, I think Roosh is Dragon Lee's brother. Roosh is Dragon Lee's brother. Jalistico is Sin Cara why I keep calling him Sin Cara. He's Mystico's brother. But the problem is there's like two Mysticos. Because it's Dragon Lee and the guy who will become Sin Cara. So it's like, so it's like if I say Mystico, it just adds on to the controversy. In any case, I've been a fan of Lucha Libre for quite some time now. So seeing this come into fruition has been like my dream forever. However, I do think that like this is a takeover attempt. I don't know, like I like what WWE is doing, but it does feel like a takeover attempt because I feel like if if a WWE wrestler becomes AAA champion, there's a takeover. And I think I'm not a crazy person for that. Am I a crazy person for that? You think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy for that. I definitely think that when you have multiple organizations now under one umbrella with a working relationship, now you start to think that, okay, sooner or later they're going to involve this into a storyline. So now where you can easily use that, like if you're TNA, hey, I was the underdog promotion. We did try to go head to head with you at one time, but now um, we're sort of working together. You could easily put that into a storyline of, okay, now we're working together. Now you're trying to tell us what to do. And now you're booking all of your superstars, your NXT superstars and WWE superstars in a better lighting than our TNA stars. TNA stars don't like it. And then all of a sudden it could easily branch out into that war that you speak of. Same thing that you can do something with uh, Triple Mega as well. So
Yeah.
definitely you can easily take um, this working relationship and put it into a storyline where you can do
Yeah.
Fed versus Fed.
Yeah, I love me a good Fed versus Fed. I was just like before I started this, I just got done telling him about the time where I saw PWU. It was PWU Pro Wrestling Unplugged versus the Flash Family, and there was this whole thing with that. But there was another Fed versus Fed match I actually wanted to. Those were stable versus stable, but there was a Fed versus Fed feud that I enjoyed. It was CZW versus Ring of Honor, and like if you had to be there, man. I'm talking. You had Chris Hero versus Samoa Joe at one time, and you had there was a cage of death before this honor match. It was five guys. It was like 10 guys in a cage. It was elimination style, and the match ended with like homicide, clothesline at somebody. It was oh man, this it's like it was like I said, CZW versus Ring of Honor. So good, bro. It was so good. You had to be there. Y'all just had to be there for that. Also, that voice sounds familiar. That's a great Ryan Last, everybody. Nah, that's not the great Brian Last. But doesn't it sound like him though? Doesn't it? I'm gonna try to actually do my best Jim Cornette, and I can't really be. I'm not good at voicing Jim Cornette, but I like to think that I'm trying to do so. He really did. Did he really ate hamburgers with his applesauce? I'm sorry. That's a whole other thing. Speaking of rap, I'm making fun of Diddy earlier with the applesauce and hamburgers thing. Look it up, man. I'm not gonna talk about that. But speaking of rap, though, I love this. I part of me wants to see Travis Scott succeed in professional wrestling. Part of me wants to see that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that he's supposed to be like, I want to say that he's like training or something. I'm not sure. But like, part of me wants to see him succeed. Part of me wants to see him kind of like just get good because like I said, I'm really because like whenever I think of rap in professional wrestling, I think of Bad Bunny. And that's fine. But it's like, Bad Bunny is and Travis Scott is, and I'm black, y'all. But like I did kind of want to part of me wants to also see him succeed because he seems like he likes wrestling a little bit. So it's like I guess part of me is just sort of excited to kind of like see that happen. But also like if he's not like but also he comes across as that kind of guy who just wants to play wrestler instead of actually do it. And that bums me out a little bit. But I ain't gonna lie, he took that Crossroads at Mania pretty good though. I'll say that, considering what Mania was and considering his contribution to Mania, he took the Crossroads pretty well. I ain't gonna front. Like, there's no wrong way to take that Crossroads though. Honestly, what are you smirking about over there? Yeah, okay, got it. But I am excited about but I am in fact very excited for Worlds Collide. I'm also very shout out to Trick Willie for becoming TNA champ. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was just talking about how it could be a takeover idea, but it's like shout out to Trick Willie for being both NXT champ and TNA champ, and kind of like sort of bridging the gap a little bit between TNA and WWE. I love this idea because I love me a good Fed versus Fed style feud because it's been forever since I've seen one. Like I said, PWU versus JCW and CZW versus Ring of Honor. Those are the only two. And I'm so glad, man. I like, like WWE versus TNA. That's been in the making for years. And I know fans have been kind of like losing their minds about it. So I'm ready to just see that coming to fruition, especially because if you look back into TNA's history, TNA has always kind of been under attack. It's always been like in the process of getting invaded, and they always come out on top. So would be like the third time getting invaded because it was Aces and Eights one time, and then it was what was it? Sports Entertainment Extreme, and it was something else. It was another stable or a show or something. And I just love that. I love that TNA is like, we will not be overtaken. Shout out to Jeff Jarrett, by the way. Shoot. What's some you got anything that you're excited for wrestling wise?
Yeah, I like the crossover angle. Definitely with Triple A Mega and TNA working with NXT. So definitely, let me try to see what other good storylines they have going on. So NXT was good there last night. It's very interesting decisions to see Stephanie McCoy lose her championship. Definitely good to see JC Jane become NXT champion. She's been in NXT for a while, so I was glad to see her winning. I definitely think that Stephanie McCoy is getting called up. She's more than ready. And I think that she definitely stole the show a few weeks ago when she had that match against Valkyria on Raw. So definitely they wanted to bring her up right away.
Was it Valkyria? I thought it was Julia.
No, it was against Valkyria.
Oh.
Julia and Roxanne came in and beat them both up. So we didn't get a finish. But And then also Ricky Saints, won his match again lost to the North American Championship last night. So there's indications that he may get called up. Same thing with Jordan Grace. So definitely want to see what they can do on the main roster and seeing where NXT goes from here. It looks like the ball's in someone's court. Somebody can definitely step up. You have some few really good names leaving, with the Prodigy and Julia. So definitely, and then with Obafemi still being champ, it looks like Trick Williams is doing stuff with the TNA Championship. So it's going to be interesting to see. You got Obafemi doing work with Jasper Troy, who won the Future Legends and Great show. So it looks like it's the field is wide open. So definitely somebody can definitely come in and become hot whenever there's this changing of the guards to see, I'm really excited to see who's going to step up and who's going to kind of be that next person in NXT to kind of take it into this new direction with all the names that have left and are rumored to be leaving.
Who would you like to see? Who would you like to see kind of get up there?
Let me see. For the women, let me pull up the roster. For the women, someone that I'm really starting to get into now is Lola Vice. I just think that she has a lot of charisma. She just needs to find her thing. And,
dude, she does have her thing. She swings it every time she goes out to the ring.
Yeah. And definitely she has a really good MMA background and things like that too. So she definitely has the presence. It's just definitely putting it all together with her. But I think that she can definitely be money and get super over. So now that if we still have Miss Parker, but if McClure is gone, definitely Book needs a woman that he can just equally go crazy over. So who's going to fill that void? That's the more important question.
I think I will say this right now.
He's good at putting over the talent.
Yeah, that's all I was about to say.
He gets very excited with Stephanie McClure. So
who wouldn't? But I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to talk about women, women wrestlers, big butts. I'm not chauvinistic. I'm not weird. I'm not just watching it for the booty. I'm just making jokes. Just bear with me on that. But yeah.
For the men, I'm gonna go out and say, let me see.
Gresham.
It's not technically on there, but who can really step up? Somebody, I don't know if he's hurt. Is Alexis King still there?
Yeah, he's still there.
I haven't seen him in a while.
He's been working on a lot of indie shows.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. So
which I think it's cool.
Wesley or JCJ. Right now, Ariana Grace is doing a lot of indie shows. So another person that's going to be at Reality of Wrestling's next show. So she's been doing a lot. Some of the NXT talent. It's interesting that they're letting them do some of these other shows.
Yeah. I know Vince McMahon is punching a wall right now. They're doing indie shows.
Yeah, so somebody does get hurt at an indie show. It's wait, should you have done that? But obviously, I think Javon Evans could be some money. But yeah, definitely the field's open because if you're thinking about it was Trick, but Trick is kind of a tweener because I think that Santana cut a promo on him and talked about his outfit, and he's been doing stuff with Joe Hendry. That's relevantly healed, but he's still very charismatic, so the fans will cheer him. But when you're thinking who's going to be the number one, like the person you tune in to see, right? I hate going back to Austin or even the Cena era, or the Punk era. Who's that baby face that's going to take it, or who's that heel that's going to take it? So definitely, especially if a guy like Saints isn't going to be there, I'd like it for it to be Saints. Miles Bourne is somebody that people are kind of high on.
Yeah, they've been talking about him a lot. I don't see it, but that's only because I haven't been watching NXT in a minute. But yeah, like I mean, like they've been talking a lot about Miles Bourne, so I mean, there's got to be something there if they're hyping him up that hard. But then again, these people also at one time hyped up Matt Morgan, so you know. But I will say this though, it is kind of dope that they are kind of. It is kind of dope that they are like pushing in new talent because for a long time it was just Cena. For a long time, it was just like it was like maybe like it's like the old guard was kind of like in there for a while. It was Cena, Edge, maybe Punk.
Like a slight Jeff Hardy before he left that time.
Yeah, Orton.
Yeah, was always in there, and then like when it kind of got to that WrestleMania, the one where it was, I want to say it was 15. Yeah, it was 15 where Roman won. It just seemed like for that whole 5-6 year period, he was just
Roman.
It doesn't matter. We're gonna put it in Roman. He's already broken the record for most WrestleMania main events. You started thinking it was just like they had to like put him there, and it was just the whole Tribal Chief stuff could have been years earlier, but it was really just letting him cook it and find himself. And I know that sometimes that might seem like the easy way out. Well, just let him turn heel, because when you're heel, you kind of get to be yourself a little bit more, and you can start experimenting with things without trying to say, oh, well, that's going to get me booed, or like the crowd's not going to really like that. But at that point, he was just going to get booed regardless, because I felt like he was never going to turn the audience if it was just he was Vince McMahon's golden boy. But going back to like we had the long Cena era, we kind of had the long Roman era. Now we got Rhodes back. Jey Uso is just completely printing out money.
Basically, essentially.
Machine. So definitely.
That's what I'm telling you, bro. The best way to get over in professional wrestling is to have a catchy theme song and a catchphrase. That's it. I mean, there's more to it than that, but it's like you could literally be like a not great wrestler, and like when Austin hurt his neck, he was very limited, but it's like he had a buttload of catchphrases. Everybody loves doing a good middle finger, and his theme song was dun 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 dun. You know what I'm saying? It's just like catchy theme song, couple of catchphrases.
I like the Bret Hart guitar riff, the break glass.
Yeah, it's like also it's like also that is kind of another thing too, because
the first entrance part, like the second you hear it, like the Undertaker gong. Like the second you hear it, it's like, oh shit.
Like the car accident from Mick Foley.
Oh yeah. So.
Like the old school Jeff Hardy theme with the conga with the.
And you're saying like that song, it was like just some random ass music that they found.
Yeah.
Like back in the 90s or whatever. So it was like licensed free. So everywhere they go, they could just always use that.
Yeah, because I remember hearing that song like before for like a random I remember hearing that song like a little while back for like a TV commercial, and I'm just like, ain't no way this TV commercial used the Hardy Boys theme song. It's like, no, it was just an original song that there's this guy that they just decided to use, and it just stuck. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just like with Spanky. I don't know if you remember Spanky's old theme song, but the hey yo, yeah, it was just a licensed song that just happened to use, and it worked because it worked for Spanky for a while because the dude was over. But the whole idea was that the reason why I was bringing it up is that Jey Uso is basically proof that if you let I feel like if you let a wrestler cook, it just like let a wrestler just do what they want to do. Like you can't go wrong with it. Like there's a lot of times there's way too many times where corporate gets it wrong. Like corporate gets it wrong almost all the time. It's like just let the wrestlers maybe be in charge of the storylines, but don't be in charge of the characters. Like that's what I'm saying. Even then, let some of the wrestlers be in charge of the storylines too, except for Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, I love the guy, great wrestler, amazing person, terrible at writing storylines. It's like, because it's like the Eddie Guerrero being Dominic's dad possibility. That was his idea. I mean, got some great matches out of it. Eddie versus Rey Mysterio was always a banger, but come on, man. You couldn't do anything better than that. It's like it screams Lucha Libre soap opera. It's like it's too soapy. But yeah, that was definitely. But like yeah. But yeah, Jey Uso, you're right though. Jey Uso is practically like printing out the money. He is, man. That dude is, like I said, Jey Uso is proof, man. Like let the wrestlers cook, and they'll give you they'll give you. And like what's even crazier is that like he did it. The yeet came from a humiliating moment. You know what I'm saying? The yeet didn't come from. It wasn't just something he made up. It came from a moment where I was kind of like so that he was getting roasted for. You know what I'm saying? It's like that promo was hilarious and goofy because we knew you was messed up the entire interview. And then you just decided to turn it into that. And now I bet you right now there's people who don't even know where Yeet came from. Shoot. But honestly, I'm expecting Ricky Saints to kind of be next in line. But that's only because he's from Louisiana and I'm from Louisiana. So yeah, show some respect to the boot. Shoot, I think Overfamily's up too. Once he gets that call up, yeah, I expect him to get a Braun Breaker style type of a push. Speaking of Braun Breaker, has Femi ever went up against Breaker before? That you know of?
I don't believe so.
God, that match will feed families. That match will reshape professional wrestling. You got these two colossally, disturbingly strong, fast beings. Yeah, that's too good. That's too good. In other news, Two-Face Ace turned his back. Nah, you know what? You're the one who knows the story, so you say it.
Oh, all right. If you really wanted to take it there, then yes, we can. So not technically like wrestling related in the sense of
it is wrestling related.
Like I'm talking about like in-ring action and storylines from that, except for like with how this is going, this could be considered a wrestling storyline. It's got all the drama and fixings to be one. But it did seem as though today John Laurinaitis was now no longer going to be a defendant in the case, and he has now agreed to give evidence to the victim, who her name was Janelle Grant, in her lawsuit. So from there, John Laurinaitis is no longer a defendant. All charges against him looks like it's been dropped, and he is going to be helping Janelle Grant with the lawsuit. There was a rumor earlier that went around from Jonathan Coachman, who used to work at WWE, saying that there was rumors that Vince did want to try and buy the WWE back again. Obviously rumors, but yeah, so that's just some more things. You can't script, a heel turn, turning on your own partner or stable for years.
Two-Face Ace screwed his partner.
So from there, that's another big news coming out of today.
We're calling that the Connecticut screw job. Two-Face Ace messed up the case, screwed over his partner. Said, I'm going to business for myself. Man. But also, I don't believe that thing that Coachman said about Vince McMahon trying to buy back the company. I don't believe that. But also, like, if he does, honestly, if he does do it, I feel like if he does do it, that would probably break that. That would probably ruin the company a little bit. Especially if he gets back to having creative control. Because if he gets creative control, oh my God, like that would be such a regression. Oh my God, bro. Like, can you imagine if he brought back the company?
Yeah, it'd be really intriguing if he gets a lot of investors and people. He's definitely got friends in high places, so you can definitely see if there's something that he wanted badly. He will fight like hell to get it back. I'll say that.
I will say,
if he doesn't get it, if it's something that he wants, you'll be hearing things every day about him, doing things in order to get his baby back.
That's kind of the reason why I don't think he's actually trying to buy it back. Because if he was, we know about it from like him or other sources besides Coachman. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that Coachman is wrong, but I mean, it's just too easy to like. Who's talking to Coachman about WWE? Who's talking to Coachman about this? He hasn't worked there in years. Like, what? Who's doing that? Who's going to Jonathan Coachman and saying, "Hey, what are your thoughts about what's going on in WWE?" Man, he hated his time there. He's gonna sound like a bitter worker. The heck? That's wild. I bet you there was some Chris Van Vliet stuff. No offense to Chris Van Vliet. I met the guy. He's really cool. But yeah, I bet you, like, that's just a weird question to ask. Hey, Jonathan Coachman, what are your thoughts about WWE? That's like asking Charlie Caruso what are her thoughts about WWE. And I'm pretty sure she'd probably not have any good thoughts about it either. God, so hot and so evil. Would you date Charlie Caruso? Just gonna leave you hanging on that, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to leave you.
Just leave you hanging.
Hanging on that one.
I'll wait.
I'll be waiting forever.
Got it. But nah, though. But like the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because like professional wrestling has now, like the thing about professional wrestling that we tend to forget is that like it's become bigger than wrestling. It's become bigger than what we see in the ring. It's now become like lessons about like corporate practices, corporate practices, what the indies are, how wrestlers are being talked about. Like professional wrestling has become more than just sports entertainment. It's become a culture within itself. And I do feel like, if we're going to talk about professional wrestling, we can't just talk about WWE. We got to talk about, the industry in general. And I feel like an important part of the industry that is very easy to ignore is the behind the scenes stuff that's going on, which is why I want to talk about WWE Unreal and pulling back the curtain in professional wrestling so we can actually see what goes on. The new Netflix documentary that's coming out, if it's not already out. And I don't know. I feel like that's going to do more harm than good because people already quote unquote know that wrestling is quote unquote fake. So I feel like it's not doing anything except one, confirming certain wrestling fans like prejudices and perspectives, but also it's going to teach wrestling fans more about the business than I feel like they shouldn't need to know. Because I actually talk to wrestling fans and they are like, they love using words like botch and screw job and jobber, and they love talking about like a professional wrestling company's revenue and how much money the company earns and how that means that if a company is earning little money, it's not doing that well. If it's earning big money, it is doing well, and ticket sales and all this other stuff. And my whole thing is they talk less about the wrestling and more about like what goes on backstage as a way to validate why they shouldn't like it. And I feel like pulling back the curtain even further will probably be like, okay, now I have more reasons to look at as to why I don't like this company. And like on one hand, I like the idea of WWE being shown as a business from the business perspective. I just think that professional wrestling fans are going to appreciate it for a different reason, for a more malicious reason. And I ain't cool with that part. I might still try to watch it though. What about you?
I wouldn't mind checking it out, but going back to your point, I do think that it's just getting like a little bit. Guess I just grew up in a different era.
Yeah.
I hate to be like that guy. Like back in my day, they do like to peel back the curtain too much, or even like somebody like The Rock. He's just such a big star, but like when Cena turned heel. Then like he was in a press conference. Oh yeah, we got together and we called John and like, oh, are you okay with doing this? And it was like, yeah, and he went along with it. Like you never see that like 20 years ago, everybody coming together to say how a heel turn happened, and then like minutes after the show, go and talk about how what you saw on there and portraying like how heel or face or like how the business has somewhat changed. That's me. I know like it's different for a lot of other people, but for me, I would like people to. I would like it to keep it a little bit more kayfabe for my liking.
I do feel like the evolution of professional wrestling now is that it's starting to be treated less as a legit wrestling match and more as a show. And the problem is that like even on regular shows, you don't really want to talk about production. You don't really talk about production that much. So it just feels like they're kind of hyper specifying the production of like the shows. You know what I'm saying? And like they're really hyper specifying the production of the show. And I feel like you're not wrong. That does seem kind of it's like I do kind of like the idea. I mean, the curtain doesn't have to be pulled all the way off, but like people don't need to know. People don't need to know what gorilla means. People don't need to know what a curtain jerker is. People don't need to know what Broadway means. People don't need to know that stuff. You know what I mean? But like I can assure you right now, once they figure out what a curtain jerker and a Broadway and a gorilla and all those things mean, then you're gonna have fans out there like going, well, when they came out of Gorilla, they did it this way instead of this way, and that's why I don't like the company no more. It's like, are you serious right now? You didn't even know what those words meant a week ago. So it's just stuff like that is like kind of bugging me. So I mean, I'm with you on that. They do need to kind of keep things as a on a need to know basis, because there's some stuff that wrestling fans don't need to know. And now, because like once they do, they're gonna use that against you. But we are out of time. Check us out next time on this random idea for a podcast show. I seriously hope that they heard you. You were kind of far away from the mic, but yeah. But like I'll have to listen to this again eventually or something. I'll just send it to you or something like that. We'll just do it that way. But until next time, I'm Emmanuel. That's Caleb. And why did I use my real name? Love and peace to everybody out there. And hope that you guys stick around for the next one. All right. I'm out.